Today, hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in for this masterclass on 5 actionable steps that will help you grow your exports in 2021. Thank you for taking out time just after Christmas and joining in for this session. Today, we are all going to be talking about what all can we be doing to increase our exports. Welcome, Suraj. Thanks a lot for joining in today. I know some of us have really started a little late after Christmas, so we have we're just starting with the presentation right now. So please, type in your questions in the chat box, and I'll be answering them as and when we move through the presentation. So the whole idea of FBC doing this thing is to help exporters actually grow their exports despite all the challenges that we are facing. And we do all of this work through different ways. Like, we actually go and share on we share our recordings, uh, which are YouTube videos, or our blogs on LinkedIn, which you have been following. So the whole idea about doing this work is actually to see how can we help manufacturers who are absolutely dedicated to build their business get to the next level, or even the manufacturers who are actually starting out right now and want to get into the international market. How can we actually help them too? So if you have any questions, please type in, and we'll keep you on mute so that with the presentation can go on. And at the end of it, we also of the presentation, we'll also take the questions. So if you have been following me on LinkedIn or YouTube, you would have actually seen that I have been working with the industry for almost 25 years. And working with exports and international market has been my key strength, I would say. Now, why I choose to talk about this thing today is because I've had already witnessed a few recessions and difficult market situations. And I know it looks like businesses are crashing down or the things are not going to go back, specifically with how markets are completely quiet and there's so much of uncertainty in the market right now. So because I have actually faced these things, and I've also not just faced, but also been able to overcome and help the exporters actually grow their business in these tough times, I thought of choosing to talk about this, as what can you actually do? And that's where, we are working to build exporters who are really working very hard, specifically in these times, in these tough times. So moving on to talking about how can you grow your business in 2021. First, we want to really understand before we say, okay, this is what you have to do. Because, the problem I've seen is that we are too much involved inside the business. I have worked with manufacturers for a very, very long time, and I have always seen them very involved into the business and not on the business. And this is where, I want to talk a little bit more in detail, because when we are inside the business, we don't know how we are going to be working on the business, because manufacturing is not easy, exporting is not easy. You have got so many departments to look after, from designing to marketing to sales to production to supply chain, finance, arranging the finances, managing the finances. I mean, God knows how many things a person has to do as a manufacturer and exporter. So it's very easy to get entangled into the entire business. And that is the reason my first thing, in fact, I just want to tell you who all are actually listening today, that I'm actually going to be doing a series of master classes over the next 1.5 months, which is going to give you deeper insights into what all it takes. Because I'll tell you, over the years, what I recognized was that it wasn't so difficult for me to get people to come and do the business with me. For me, business was more effortless. But the problem is that, I would see people really struggling on this side. And I would just not understand why does that happen. We started understanding this only when I started seeing that people don't understand, and they're not really looking into taking the business to the next level. They are completely involved in working inside the business. So let's keep your business aside, the production aside, the product development, the marketing, the trends aside, and let's look at what world are we living in right now. And I'm sure, all of you have been actually experiencing it right now more than ever before. And I'm going to decode this first, because if I don't know what is my playing field, I do not know how do I actually ball, how do I actually bat. Because I would, if I'm just balling and batting like a regular player, I would not really be able to have a strategy of winning this game. And that is where, you have to understand the market where you are actually working in. And this is, if you actually Google and if you go and see, there's a lot about the VUCA world which you can actually read through, and it's not right now. The thing is that pandemic has just accelerated it. It's just showing us the results much faster, but it's actually started almost as early as 2014-15. And people who have been leaders in the business have already talking about it from 2012 onwards. So what does this VUCA first means is what I want to deconstruct. The first V starts for volatility. That means there is nothing that is very, very certain right now. There's a lot of volatility in the market. Look at the share market, look at the anything like prices, inflation, GDP, all of these areas. There's so much of volatility in the entire market that it's very difficult to predict. Now what happens in fashion? Fashion is a business which is around predictability. Now predictability is possible only when you have a stable market. You know this has performed before and this is what is going to perform later on also. So when there is so much of volatility, you can't really have predictions working out and say, okay, why this has worked really in the past is what is going to be working in the future too. So it's important to see which market actually, like, are you looking to concentrate on UK, or you're getting to move into newer markets? Is it Australia? Is it Japan? Is it Mexico? Is it Southern America? Where are you really going? How is the market there? Understanding that is very, very important. And also the marketplace where you are manufacturing. See, as an entrepreneur, as a manufacturer, what we actually tend to always forget is that both our businesses, like, the things that we are producing and the people who are consuming, they are all subject to what's happening in the marketplace. If that is not going to be taken care of, then you are going to be struggling to market based on predictions which have been happening. The second aspect, uh, anyone who's joining, sorry, I'm just, anyone who's joining in, if you have missed out a part of it, don't worry, because we will be sharing the recordings for these sessions. So wherever you are joining in, you can actually take down your notes, and any questions we'll have, I will definitely cover a little later in the session too. So the first was we. The second one, which we talk about, is uncertainty. With a lot of volatility in the market, there's a lot of uncertainty too. Because the markets are volatile, you are going to be very uncertain. When I talk about you, means as a manufacturer, as a buyer, and even the end customer also is extremely uncertain about the buying decisions. What are they actually likely to use for the longer run? Where do they actually put the money into the thing? So it's not right for us to discount and say, okay, fine, we are just going to get back to what it was earlier. That is not really going to happen, because it's a continued volatility which has been there in the market, and this has actually created a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear in people's mind. So what happens is that it's just not going to go away in next 1 or 2 or 3 months. In fact, what I'm talking about is 2021 as a year of transition. We would be transitioning to a new market, new way of working. So it's very, very important that you understand that uncertainty is a part of a business, and how would you sell to an uncertain market is extremely important to understand. One second, just 1 second, hold on please. Yeah, so moving on to the next part. Because of the uncertainty, there are a lot of complexities too. So when there's a lot of volatility in the marketplace, and this gives to a lot of uncertainty, you also have a lot of complex business models which are coming up. So things which have worked may not be working, and things which may not have been working earlier will suddenly start showing results. So, the whole idea is that, how do you actually react to a market like this? What exactly do you do when it's so complex that you do not understand? Either you should be online, offline, omni-channel. Where do you focus your energy right now on? How do you go and market yourself? uh, do you travel, you don't travel? Because today the problem is, of course, we are all hand tied, and we can't really actually travel anywhere. But what is the way to reach our customers? At the same point of time, the customers, international customers, are thinking, how do we actually reach out to the manufacturers who would understand our business, who would understand what we require, and whom we can trust without actually having people to be uh, kind of constantly monitoring? Because I do not know if, or I mean, most of you who have been into exports will understand that there's a huge amount of investment which goes into the technical and compliances, technical and audits and compliances. The reason is that because there's lack of trust, there's a lack of thinking, believing that whatever we are talking is actually happening also or not. So it's very, very just 1 second, I'll just uh, mute as well. Yeah. So it's very important for you to understand that it's the business, how do you approach the buyers and how the buyers approach you is all really very, very complex. It's not as easy. So we have to keep in mind this thing, because if we don't understand, if we are just kind of writing emails with product presentations and not getting replies, I'm not surprised with that. Because you have to understand, people are not even working from their offices. People are working from homes, and when they are working from homes, then they are caught up into too many different things other than just having a cup of coffee and sitting on a table and looking at what's the next buying season that they're looking at. So we need to understand these complexities which are going on in individuals' lives, in individuals' mind. The last of the VUCA is actually the ambiguity. Now, with all of this complexity and uncertainty and volatility, it's hard to predict and say, this is what I want to buy, or this is what's going to be successful. And that means there's a huge chances of things getting cancelled at the last minute or getting changed at the last minute. And this is where we have to be very, very careful for our business, because we, as exporters, we invest huge amount of money in delivering what we are delivering to our customers. And any I mean, small mistakes, exports was never something which was very I mean, you always had a lot of problems around uh, wrong decisions and cancellations and product being right. But now, just because there's so much of ambiguity, if you just leave things to chances, you can actually be into a very, very difficult situation. Because you do not know if you got it approved also actually meant approved in all senses or not. So that means you have to be very sure of the product category that you are focusing on and the product that you're offering to your customer. so that they are very sure and they don't have to really bother about checking it and rechecking it. Because today, even um, a lot of times technologists are somewhere else, buyers are somewhere else, and you do not know who is checking it and what all are they approving it, approving a sample for. So there's a lot of ambiguity in the mind of the buyer when they are even giving approvals. So what happens? I mean, when you have got all of this, you only want to work with people whom you trust and whom you know very well, because you know that they are actually your eyes and ears for your business. This is where, buying agents have always scored really well, because they build a relationship. They don't build a transaction with the business. And I've worked with a buying agent, so I understand, how much they value what your commitments are. The problem of working from a sourcing agent with a sourcing agent or buying agent is that these margins have gone very low. These things are not possible for you to just do it without actually investing into the business in terms of understanding the customer really well. So if you have not built a relationship with a buyer or a retailer, it's hard for you to grow that business. But today, the answer is really not going to a sourcing agent or a buying agent. Why? Because there are costs to all of this as well. And end of the day, if you have a high cost of production with lower quantities, and the margins are higher from the perspective of a sourcing or a buying agent, it's not that they are being unethical in charging, because end of the day, they are investing into marketing, building relationship, into design, into having a team. But it's almost doubling the cost actually of finally getting the product to the end customer, and end customer is not paying higher prices right now. So you have to understand that how can you step up your game and actually be there with the customer to understand what are their requirements. So moving on from here, let's do a quick SWOT of how the Indian business scenario looks like in terms of exports. And for that, we have done a quick SWOT analysis. Most of you who are in this space would anyways understand this very well, but I'll still take you through that for anyone who doesn't understand or who is actually new to getting into exports. So India offers traditional and unmatched design. I mean, I can tell you that we have been in the sourcing business for almost 20 years. Some of the products which Indian manufacturers make, they are unbelievably competitive and amazing whenever you compare it from China, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Vietnam, anywhere. That is the focus, that is the forte of Indian market, and that is why I still believe that with all of this mess also, India is going to stand out as a winner. Today, the best part is that there are variety of raw materials in terms of natural resources which India has. India has to just explore and offer it to the world. The best thing is that good that we are not so strong in man-made fibers, because people are moving away from man-made fibers. So it's, if you are thinking about, we're not very good with polyesters and blends and all of it, it's great. Good we have not invested, because actually today the entire world is moving out of it. And I'm not saying that polyester will cease to be a part of the business, but there are a lot of raw materials which can be explored from Indian perspective, sustainable perspective, and be offered to the world, and not only to the international market but also to the Indians as well. There's a lot of consumption actually increasing in India market itself. And the best part is that we Indians can actually have the entire value chain from being vertical to just being customized. These all business models are very much possible in India. These are the core strengths for India to be coming out very, very strongly in 2021 onwards. So it's a multi-billion industry that we're talking about. And I do not see any reasons for us to feel that, well, we will not be able to grow our exports in the future and with all of this market. That's what I believe. And I would definitely love to have your answers too in the chat box. Moving on, the next is, what are the weaknesses? Now, while I have worked with the international customers, I can tell you that the reasons they complain and I mean, they love the product that we are getting from India, but what they really complain is the high delivery lead times. And the problem is just not the high delivery lead time. It also gets combined with non-adherence to whatever we are committing. See, the best part of the best and the worst part of being from India is that Indians are very good with communication and commitments. So they actually go and overcommit themselves. They can firstly communicate really well, so they always go and say yes to almost every opportunity and not deliver. So this puts India as a into a red zone for a supply, for a retailer, international retailer. Like, when we look at global sourcing perspective, and we are talking to retailers in terms of global sourcing, what we see is that they are talking about blue, red, amber, green. And blue is someone who actually delivers effortlessly. Red is someone who is not reliable at all. Amber is where there is room for growth, but they are still not growing. They're still capped up. And green is like, close your eyes and just kind of go and place even long term business with them. So if we are a red supplier, you can imagine that how little business. And if I give you the numbers, you'll be surprised. India mostly stands only 5% of the global business that comes to India. And the simple reason is that because we do not adhere to our commitments. They know that we can communicate, we can create anything and everything, but they don't believe that we can actually deliver almost every time to them effortlessly. So, this is the biggest weakness we have. Why also these things happen? Because we are not very cost effective, and very inefficient logistics is another very big problem that India faces. So if you are thinking from the perspective of cost advantage, because we don't invest into maximizing automation efficiency, we don't invest into limited product categories. Every operation is actually adding on to our cost, and we are more expensive than any of our competitors. And of course, with the political and the infrastructure instabilities, inefficient logistics is a huge part. Which, and India is a big country, it's not a very small country. So moving goods even when they are ready to the port is a challenge for a lot of suppliers. So we have to really think about how can we look at, now this is somewhere, I think so, a lot inefficient logistic is somewhere you are really dependent on government activities as well, and government policies. And I think so they should be definitely looking at into this. But all the other three parts are something which, as a supplier, if you start working on, you definitely are going to be actually moving into a better, or maybe an amber zone supplier. Then we are coming to, what are the opportunities? Now there's huge amount of focus on moving business from China to India, and India is talking about becoming Atmanirbhar. A lot of policy environments are actually, I mean, because we want foreign currency to be coming in, we want foreign investments to be coming in, there's a lot of relaxations and pushes are actually happening, where people want that better import and export facilities are being provided to exporters, so that we can attract the foreign currency into our business. And then definitely the whole shift which is on getting being sustainable products and using more of natural fibers and products is something, another area where India is going to be outplaying the other competitors. So these are huge opportunities. Now, it's not that these opportunities were not there before, or as much not. Definitely, it's much more amplified right now. But let's look at the threats which are also there for our business, because um, I want to be very honest. In 2008, 2009, we when the entire market had crashed in UK and US and everywhere, and also people were really moving out from China for different reasons, and Bangladesh also, because of later on with Rana Plaza issues and things like those. Things did not happen like that. The reason was that it's not that the opportunity did not come into and knock doors in India, but India was not ready. We were still very comfortable with the old way of working because business was happening, margins were there, people were able to sustain with those margins, people were able to kind of tweak and kind of be okay with the business that they were doing. So that is a reason, it didn't really matter a lot. So trust me, if India reacts in the similar manner, you have the same threats right now. And then, of course, depletion of with automation, there is a lot of depletion of traditional skills. People are really not focusing too much on doing things really properly. And local sourcing also globally is getting very important right now for a lot of customers. I'll just take a pause for a second, please. Yeah. So yeah, coming back. So local sourcing is also getting a very important. So a lot of countries, even including US, UK, people are actually looking at manufacturing in the home country so that they are less dependent on international supply chain and more uh, having more reliable supply chain when they are looking at creating new brands, and specifically the local small brands which are actually coming up. So these are some of the threats. Now we understand the market that we are getting into and the entire environment, and we also understand the entire SWOT that we are having. What are the strengths, what are opportunities for this export market? And now let's talk about what are the most important things. And I know some of you are going to be really surprised with this aspect because, like I tell you, I have seen the best of the exporters, the best of the products really struggling with the business, not because the product is not good or not because the price they are not they're not able to do it, but mainly because they are too much inside the business and not on the business. And that is the reason I started this whole communication talking about that we have to be working on the business and not inside the business. So the first thing is that how do you combat the volatility? Now, volatility is something which is going to be there for some time at least, and when I say sometime, it's at least a few 1 or 2 years, I would say 2 to 3. I mean, honestly, 2 to 3 years, I definitely see the markets are going to be very, very volatile. So having a foresight is extremely important. And these are the five, I mean, I'm talking today only about the right mindset and the five actionable things that you have to have with the right mindset. Because end of the day, we don't fail or we don't stop growing because of the product and the price. I will be very, very honest to you about it. And I have repeated this year on year on year because it's just the way I am looking at a situation would have given me where I would have met my budgets or I would have lost on getting my turnovers done. So if I have done it for 20 years and I know it in and out, and not only for one manufacturer, but for multiple manufacturers, then I can tell you this thing. This is the number one step that I had to always have. Having a foresight is so, so important. Now, not only having a foresight here is important in terms of the market that your marketplace that you are operating into, but having a foresight into how are the brands and the retailers moving into, what is the direction that they are going into, are they actually delivering value to the end customer, who do you really want to work with, Having a foresight is extremely important, because if you don't have this one aspect, so what happens is that as individuals, I'll tell you a little bit more about this. A lot of us actually work from whatever has happened in the past, and we come to conclusions about the future, because this is what has happened in the past, or maybe in the past similar situation this has happened, and this is how the it would operate, or results will happen in the future too. Now this is a very, very big trap. While it works in certain areas, when you are in a VUCA world, this thing does not work, because markets are going to be very volatile. What's worked for you yesterday will not be really working for you today, and not be working to you tomorrow also. So that means you having a strategy here is extremely important. You cannot afford to work in this VUCA world without a strategy. Strategy not only for what product categories you have to do, what price points you want to work on, but strategy about who are the buyers that you should be working with, who are going to be your suppliers, who are going to be the people on your team. Understanding that is going to be extremely, extremely important. And trust me, I can tell you this thing. If you can fix if you can have this, all of these five right mindset elements, you already have a very, very strong foundation for building your exports in the future. Because this one tool has actually helped me grow it multiple times, and not only for myself but for the other exporters whom I've been working with. When specifically they have come to a crash, I mean, there were people who are working heavily for Next, for Debenhams, for Macy's, who actually came up and who started working with us on a different, on a completely different product category and a completely different retailer, just because I was having the foresight to share it with them. Now suppose, as human, and I'll tell you one more thing. As human beings, we have a certain way of looking at things. So some people are very, very analytical, and they really look at what's happened in the past, and they kind of come up with very good assessment of about the future. And some people are very good with understanding what's coming in the future. So in your team, or if you do not have a strong team, then have someone in your place who can actually help you see through what's actually coming up. It's very important that you have a team, or have a mastermind sort of thing, where you actually are talking about what's coming up, and just not kind of making decisions from the past. The second most important part is being strategic, which we just recently covered. It's not about actually just going ahead and talking to, okay, fine, see, this is one thing which I have actually seen it so many times, and I sincerely want to request the exporters not to do it. So the when we actually would visit an exporter and we would talk to them, so this is the product category that we want you to do, and they would say yes to almost everything. Now, I understand why you are saying yes to almost everything, because specific, and this is very much more prevalent in Delhi NCR region. Because what happens is that I know your factory is capable of producing almost any kind of garment. But, it's not possible to be efficient for any kind of garment. And this is a little bit less prevalent in the southern India, which is actually a benefit. That's the reason they are more efficient, and they are more they have a better SMB as well, just because they are not very easily able to adapt to new product categories. But specifically in the northern region, I definitely feel we are very, I mean, even a jersey factory, I know I have gone and helped and made them produce a washed denim too. Now, while it has helped me, I know it's not been very efficient for them as well. So you have to understand that being strategic in terms of your product categories is extremely important. And what are the product categories you would want to focus on? The second thing I want to tell you about being strategic is that when you tell me as a buyer, or as an agent, or as a supply, or as a sourcing company, or a buyer's office too, that this is what I can do for you, and this is what I cannot, I feel more confident about what you're offering to me, because you have the courage to talk about what you cannot. Trust me, weak people say that they can do everything. Strong people say that this is what they can do. It's not a matter of their capability, it's a matter of how well you can actually do it. So it's very important that you understand the situation, that it's all about being very strategic in the product categories that you want to focus on and offer to your customer, or offer that this is what you are really good with, rather than offering anything and everything to them. The third part, the third part is actually being courageous. Now, courageous is something which is difficult, in the sense that when you have less of opportunities, when you have very less business coming to you, at that point of time, talking that I do not want to do this thing, or I don't want to work with this particular buyer, I just want to focus on maybe just the high street, or just the luxury segment, or doing the discount buyers, or the supermarket customer, is not an easy decision. Because again, as a factory, as a manufacturer, probably you can produce for anyone and everyone, given a price point and a product category. But the challenge is that, how do you can you really effortlessly deliver for a luxury to a person who is working in a supermarket? It's not possible. Because end of the day, in terms of product, not only that you have to think about the product sensibilities, but the interaction that you have with the team who you are working with. And if the team doesn't really feel very confident about it, about what you are offering, and what is the whole psychology behind what you're offering to them, they feel very insecure about even placing more with you, because they are knowing that this is their only capacity that you have spoken about. They can't overplay on your strengths. And trust me, when you are a strategic supplier to a customer, you have to believe to make it see that how business really grows. Because end of the day, strategic supplier means you understand your customer beyond what they are talking. You understand their challenges beyond what you are actually explaining them. So what you have to be very very understanding is that being courageous. Okay, I'll just give you an example. Like, whenever I used to walk into a meeting with any of my international clients, I would always ensure that I have gone to the store, visited the store before I walk in for a meeting, irrespective of whatever time I would be landing into that country, or going for this meeting. The reason why I would do that is that I wanted to share my feedback about the products that they are selling in the stores. And that's being very courageous. You cannot just say that this is what you're doing is not right to your customer. It takes some amount of courage, and it takes some amount of research for you to think for them. The reason I would always do is that, because if they are not going to be successful tomorrow, I know my business is not going to be successful. I just cannot grow my business by selling those 5 7 dresses which I was doing for them. On the whole, I want my buyers to grow. And if I want my buyers to grow on the whole, then I have to ensure that actually I am giving them honest feedback. What is selling well for them? What is not selling well for them? What is good they are doing and what is not so good they are doing? Or what are the opportunities I can offer them at a better price, at a better quality? So these things are only possible when you are focusing on your customer, when you are knowing that, okay, this is all I want to work with and no one else. That's it. And I have full belief that I can build my business with these handful of customers. because they would also know that since you choose not to work with 25 customers and you only choose to work with 3 to 4 customers, they also feel it's responsible, they are responsible to fill up your capacities too. The fourth point, which is very important, is actually being the fifth is being a leader. Now, as a business owner, you are the leader for your business. As a manufacturer, you are the leader for your business. But I want to take this leadership to a completely different level. It's this business is not about your profitability, your team, your manufacturing setup, your this thing. Trust me, whenever I have worked for the businesses as for a retailer or for a manufacturer, either ways, or maybe just as an agent, my whole endeavor has been to have a win-win for all of us. It is not about the retailer has to profit and a manufacturer has to profit or I have to profit, because we are all equal shareholders into the entire supply chain. I have to take care of the growth of my retailer, my supplier too, and my team too. So, as a business owner, you are just not leading your own business and your own manufacturing setup. You're also being a leader to the people who are actually supplying you the fabrics, the accessories, the labels, the buttons, the printing, the value addition, because you're actually giving them the business. They're looking up to you. Because of your inconsistent work, if suddenly they lose their business, then who is responsible? It's always a leader who has to take a responsibility in terms of whatever you are actually giving. So you don't have to only think about how would you ensure that your business has to grow for you to be successful in 2021. Trust me, I mean, I know I have practiced this for years, but it is so important going forward, because end of the day, more than anything, it's about the relationship, the trust, the comfort that you will have, that you will be working with certain set of suppliers and buyers. There will be no other reason why people will choose to work with you, but only the comfort that you give them. The how you make them feel is going to be so important for them. And you have to be mindful about these things. So, are you acting? Questions that you need to ask yourself is that, are you actually acting in your business as being a leader only for your own business, or actually being a leader for your suppliers? Maybe your fabric supplier, or maybe your accessory supplier, or you're talking about being a leader for your buyer. Because when I was talking to my buyers or my retailers about what's not working or what I don't like on their shop floor, I'm actually being a leader for them to tell them that, well, as a customer, I'm giving you feedback. This is what is not right. This is how maybe the assortment is not good, or maybe this is not the way the products have been displayed is not very good. So you have to be very consistent in terms of showing up as a leader. And I think so I've missed out somewhere one of the pointers, which is actually being consistent. This is again coming back because I don't know, the slide just kind of skipped. So being consistent is extremely, extremely important into all your actions. Now, consistency happens not only in terms of writing emails to customers and showing product presentations, but consistency needs to be in your entire approach of being why you are the right supplier for a manufacturer, for a retailer, sorry. Because say you want to work with a luxury brand, just for example, and you are showing some poor quality product to them, or you are not giving the adequate amount, and I'm saying not the right and the wrong, but the adequate amount of uh, focus on the design aesthetics and the key to detail, then you are not being consistent in your communication, or you're doing a presentation which is very, very shabby. You're not being very consistent in your conversations, which you are saying that this is what you'll deliver. Because let me tell you, more than your communication, more than your emails, your presentations, how you communicate, what exactly you write to your customer, how much of time you give, how much you understand about them, what all you share with them, makes a lot of difference in making them choose you as a supplier or not as a supplier. And they watch it, because not only they, but imagine you would be watching it with for your own suppliers. When you take a supplier on board, are they being consistent in terms of delivering the product? Are they being consistent in terms of giving the right price points? Are they being consistent in offering the right product categories to you? Are they being consistent in actually in delivering consistently in terms of quality, time, price points? So consistency is across the business. Now, one of the biggest challenges which I have seen most of the manufacturers face is that they plan the timeline for being consistent very, very slow, very, very low. Now, actually, when I talk about being consistent, you cannot have a timeline for being consistent, because that's a way of your working. If you do not know who is going to be your customer, then you would not be able to actually be consistent to their requirements. The simple reason is that they would always be taking time to revert to you, whereas you would not be able to wait for them or check why things have not really worked out for them. Maybe there's an issue, maybe there's a situation, and you just give up on the entire work. So what happens is that if your way of working is consistent for a certain customer, it is not going to be affecting your performance, because that is the way you perform, that is the way you communicate. So irrespective of your customer is responding to you or not responding to you, you choose to continue to build a relationship with them. I have taken sometimes 2.5 years to build a relationship with a buyer before I've actually had a huge amount of business with them. And let me tell you one thing. When I was working with suppliers and taking them on board, the most important thing in my first few conversations, if even before I would look at the product and the price, I would want to go and check out their mindset. Can I work with them or not? Are they going to be the right fit the way because I know if either mindset is going to be right, then product category and price points do not matter, because we just have to fit it in. We just have to make it for them. That's it. That's not big challenge. And if this is where you are stuck up, then let me tell you this thing. You do not know whom you really want to focus upon. Because this is the biggest trap where most of the manufacturers are really struggling at that point of time, is that constantly innovating the product, constantly working on the prices, and constantly trying to market themselves. But if you don't have the right mindset, even before a customer looks at your product and your email, they have said no to you in their mind all together. So there's no point of doing all of this work, isn't it? Does this make sense? And I know it might just feel really overwhelming at this point of time, that, how can a particular mindset be so important for your business success? It's going to make or break your business. And this is where, actually I help, because end of the day, I could have chosen to work as an agent. I want at this point of time manufacturers to grow to the next level, because you have the ability. After end of the day, you are able to manufacture. Why can't we just have the certain aspects in place to help you build the business? And I can imagine that, a lot of times manufacturers come back to me and ask, Tanmaya, how do I be consistent? Because I'm not getting responses from certain suppliers or certain retailers or buyers. The point is that if you are focusing on too many different kinds of buyers and retailers, you cannot be consistent. You cannot be working as a leader for them. You cannot be kind of being courageous to them because you don't relate to them. And how do you actually start becoming that? Is by actually focusing, end of the day, who are you as a manufacturer? And let me tell you, this is an eye opener. If you have the clarity of what kind of buyers you want to work with and what kind of buyers are not right for you, you won't focus on 25 buyers. Now you will only focus on 5 buyers, and serving 5 buyers is not a big deal. The problem is that when every month we are thinking to reinvent the wheel of looking for new buyers, that's a problem, isn't it? So the point is that how do you actually manage to choose what are going to be your consistent actions and what are the things which you will stop doing? The problem is there. If I know that my buyer, the set of buyers that I work with, they only buy 12 times a year, then I only plan small capsule ranges for 12 times a year. I do not have large presentations because I know I'm not catering to that customer. I know that this is the only product category that they'll be focusing on. So I will not go and build a huge range, which people don't understand. And let me tell you one more very, very important thing. When you build a product range, which is there, covering a lot of product categories, they are just average product categories. They are not great ones, which will get you the business. If you have 20 pieces which are winners, you will have 5 styles as your business, or 8 styles as your business, because that is where your product conversion ratio matters. But if you have 100 styles in the showroom and you are trying to kind of show everything properly and do everything, of course they're not as good quality that you want to present it also. Plus the team is overworked to create those 100 samples altogether. You do not know if you are actually getting into a meeting with a customer who is from the luxury segment or a high street or a supermarket or working like with a discounter. Someone may just love your product and say, oh, it's so expensive for me to buy. What's the point of having it's not for our own happiness that we want to have presentations, isn't it? We want to have presentations so that we convert that into business. So, well, I don't want to overwhelm you with so many conversations, but these are the 5 very, very important, and it's all about being. It's not about thinking, doing, and all of it's actually being all of this. If you look at it, all of these points are actually having the foresight, but with the foresight being strategic, being consistent, being courageous, being a leader. These are very important aspects which you have to take action towards to go and then have a conversation and market your business. If this foundation is not right at this point of time, then I would sincerely ask you to focus on these. And if you think you would want to hear from us, how can we help you do this thing? We have a program which actually helps you in getting complete clarity about it, about what kind of manufacturer can you become for what kind of retailers. Because end of the day, how does it help you? It helps you in becoming a strategic partner, because you are saying no to a lot of other customers and just focusing on a few. That means you are focusing on a few with a vision why you are going to be there. So if you have a vision, you will be able to talk about. You will be able to have very focused marketing and sales activities rather than actually trying to market to and sell to anyone and everyone. Plus, you will be able to automate the processes. See, the biggest challenge about automation where the industry is moving towards is, who do you want to create the processes for? Who is your customer whom you will consistently deliver, so that you can invest into automation. And automation is not cheap process. It's not really a cheap process, and you cannot automate processes for too many different kind of customers. That means you need to have a only handful customers that you want to work with, and we help you get this clarity by helping you help you define your USP into the business. Why you are going to be the best supplier for a certain kind of a buyer. How do you actually create a vision for your business so that it aligns to the business or the vision of your brands and the retailers that you want to work with? Because when the vision is there, you want to become collaborators, you want to be strategic partners for the business. And that is what needs to showcase in in your work. That is what needs to showcase in your communication. If you're just leading your communication with product sales meetings, unfortunately it will give you some trickle down business, no doubt about it, but it will not help you in attracting buyers who will become your strategic suppliers. So it's a 4-week program that we actually offer you here, which takes you in understanding what is your manufacturing archetype, what kind of USP we are going to be offering you, and what kind of vision you want to have for your manufacturing setup. It's not only a vision about just taking your business from 8 million to 12 million or 15 million. No, that's not the vision. That can be a goal for your business, but that's not your vision. Vision is something which you want to talk about, that this is exactly what you want to deliver to your audience. That is actually having a vision for your business, right? So any questions that you have, I'm absolutely free to answer those questions. And I've given you the 5 important steps for your mindset. In the January series, we'll actually be talking about marketing and sales, also about how important product creation is there, and processes for automating your businesses. So if you find that uh, this has been useful to you, do come and see us in the next sessions in January too. But the whole idea of deconstructing this process is so that you can focus on building and growing your business. So I'm open to any questions. Please type in your questions. Yes, Muskan, this program definitely helps you in onboarding new clients, because end of the day, what happens is that, like I just said, when you have a vision for your business, you actually know that what kind of retailers or brands you want to work with. You are not focusing on offering your entire product range to a very wide this thing audience. You are focused. You are saying, well, I am just looking to work with high street, and high street also the people who are only focusing on certain age group and certain product categories. Because it's not that they are going to give you less business, but they feel the confidence of giving you more business. So the best part is, if you're just starting as a brand or as a manufacturer, you will have you will just stop over creating your product range. So it will help you go with a very focused range to your audience, which helps you in converting them into clients. Amrita, this this masterclass is not about attracting job opportunities abroad right now. We'll maybe cover that in another session. So this is more about, how can you level up your fashion exports to the next level. So if you're looking at, growing your fashion exports, or you're working for a company and you want to grow the business there, then it's going to be really helpful. Yeah. But we can speak different separately if you are still keen on this area. Any other questions that we have here in terms of, thank you. Thank you, Sonali. Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining in. And if you have liked whatever we have shared, please do follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We constantly keep sharing content which is relevant for manufacturers to grow their business. And I'm going to be sharing a recording too for this program, so that you can go through your own pace too. Thank you. Any more questions? Any last questions we have before we? Thank you, Sonali. Thanks a lot for that. Okay, so we'll just close it now. And anyone of you wants to talk to us separately about this program and wants to see if this is a right fit for you, then please drop in a message to us and we'll connect. Thank you.